very quick video on the goalkeeping situation, and in particular on Sam Johnstone, because I don't think it's nailed down that Areola's a stayer at West Ham. Hear me out on this, because I think the general consensus is that just when you speak to people, just the general view that you get from Areola is that he'll come in this season, he'll play some games, he'll start off as the cup goalkeeper, if you like, play the odd European game. Eventually, come about Christmas time, he'll have basically pushed Fabianski out of being the number one. So Fabianski then becomes the cup goalkeeper. Areola is there now number one. Areola plays out the season, playing most of the games, has a fantastic season. And then at the end of it, we make the loan deal permanent. We take up the option to buy, or whatever it is, from Paris Saint-Germain. And then he becomes a permanent signing. The world's a happy place. The theory also being that we have not had to spend any money this season on a goalkeeper, which allowed the money to be spent on Zuma and everybody else. We basically deferred the money for a year. That seems to be the theory when you speak to most people, to the point where no one sort of disputes it. It's almost accepted as fact that will happen. But I do think there is not only another scenario, but one that is more likely, actually. And I hadn't really given it much thought until the story came up. So I'll be honest with you, there's not much West Ham news at the moment. So I'm going on to One Football each day and thinking, okay, well, what have we got to talk about? What video, what West Ham content can we do today, basically? And the Aaron Ramsey one came up, which I spoke about in the previous video, unless I've released this one first, in which case I'm discussing Aaron Ramsey in the next video. And I thought, well, this story keeps coming up, this Sam Johnstone one. It won't go away. But then you look into the reasons why it did initially go away, and I don't think the reasoning's that great from it. By the way, if you don't have the One Football app, please click the link below, download it directly to your phone. It's free. They're great supporters of Hammers Chat. I always use it just for the West Ham news. It puts all the West Ham news into one place on your phone. When you sign up, you click I support West Ham, puts all the stories together, like this one. There's a great story about Jared Bowen on there at the moment, which we're going to go and discuss in a minute. Everybody we're linked with, all the fixtures, all the results, all the goal scorers, everything you need to know in the One Football app, clickable in the link below. So the One Football app, as everybody else does, has got these stories about Sam Johnstone. Why would we want Sam Johnstone? Why would we need Sam Johnstone, bearing in mind what I've said? Well, we definitely made a bid for this player. We definitely made a bid for him. And you'll never know exactly what it is, but I think it was about 10 million. So clearly, we were interested in this player before we signed Areola. So what does that tell you? Well, it tells me that we were more interested in Sam Johnstone than Areola. So why? It doesn't actually matter. That doesn't have to have changed now, because he's coming to the end of his contract at the end of this season. Now, I totally understand why West Brom would turn down the 10 million. Either one or two reasons. Number one, their valuation is a lot higher than that. That being said, with only 12 months left on his contract when we bid, they know they're not in a position of strength. But number two, they've got a promotion campaign. Because I noticed Sam Johnstone has been linked with a couple of clubs. One of them being Southampton. A couple of clubs who he has been linked with as transfer away. You think, well, West Brom have possibly got more chance of being in the Premier League next season than the Premier League clubs he's getting linked to. Obviously not West Ham. So I think, well, actually it makes sense for West Brom to hang on to him. Even if they lose him on a free, if he helps them get promotion to the Premier League, well, that's a £150 million bounty plus the parachute payments, even if it goes straight down. So you're looking at about 250 million quid. It's worth it. It's worth the loss of 10 million quid, really, for him, isn't it? I think it's a no-brainer for him. So keep Sam Johnstone, get promoted. However, when it gets to the end of the season, he gets to leave on a free. I don't think he's going to sign a new contract there. Even if they get promoted, I don't think he does. And I'll tell you why. Because he's already in the England squad. He's got a sniff of the England squad. But he plays in, let's be honest, he plays in the crap games, doesn't he? So he's going to want to move up. He's going to want to start getting sort of closer to Pickford, really. He's going to want to be challenging. And with all due respect, that is not going to happen while he's at West Brom. He's going to want to be playing European football. And where are you going to try and go if you want European football? Well, obviously a team that's qualified for Europe. Now, don't get me wrong, this is next season. We might not have qualified for Europe next season, but we might well have done. And even if nothing else, I think come the end of the season, even if we haven't, we'll look like a team that every so often will qualify for Europe. So we won't be a bad shout. Look, Sam Johnston's not going to go and join Manchester United. He's not going to get a job at Manchester City or be first choice at Liverpool or anything like that. So a club like West Ham is exactly the sort of club he wants to be going for. And you look at some of the other clubs like Leicester and Everton, but he's not going to go there. I've already explained why he won't go to Everton, because Pickford says he's not going to go to Leicester because they got Schmeichel. West Ham are right there. So if he's leaving, West Ham you'd have to say would be one of his top choices, wouldn't you? But what about us? Do we want him? And this is really my point. I think we possibly do. Because Areola, and I think this gets bypassed with this whole theory about him just signing anyway. It's going to happen anyway. What gets bypassed is the suggestion that how expensive he's going to be. Areola will not be cheap. His wages are massive. In fact, I think if you include his wages and a fee, because as I understand it, he's still got a bit more of his contract left at Paris Saint-Germain. Paris Saint-Germain aren't just going to let him come to West Ham for nothing. They're going to want a fee. Look, will they want 30 million? No. They won't. I don't know what they want. Maybe they want 10 million or something like that. But even if it's 10 million, and even if his wages are higher, I think his wages will probably be double that of Sam Johnstone's. I really do. So I think actually the Areola deal becomes far richer and far more expensive for West Ham than the Sam Johnstone one. Then you add into the fact that David Moyes clearly wanted Sam Johnstone more than he wanted Areola, and the whole picture of Areola basically being brought in as the long-term successor to Fabianski becomes a little bit flaky. I think there are holes in it, basically. I'm not entirely sure it's going to happen. So when I look at these stories, as much as I sort of poo-pooed and I don't think the Aaron Ramsey stuff's going to happen, and I think there's a lot of this stuff which is just put out there for a bit of content, a bit of story, a story here or there, because these websites have got to fill these things up, haven't they? And this one, I think, has come from Football Insider, a website called Football Insider, which OneFootball basically nicked it from them. The more you start to look at it, you think, well, hold on, there's something in it. And all I will say to you is this. Before you start dismissing everything as a press story or something that's just made up, the Zuma story was out there for a long time before we signed him. So there was some truth in it. The Areola story was out there, again, for quite some time before we actually signed him. So clearly there was some truth in it. As I understand it, we did make a bid for Sam Johnstone. The news is still out there. The story is still out there. And when you look at his options and realistically look at the clubs who this guy could sign for, West Ham are right in there. All I'm saying is, don't be so cocksure that next season Areola is West Ham's #1 goalkeeper. Do not dismiss the possibility that next season we start with Johnstone and an England goalkeeper as our #1 in goal.